All righty. So it is the top of the hour. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar of the month. We are happy to have Benjamin here from Canvas, and he's going to be talking about saving time and money on as-built. So how are you today, Ben?
I'm great, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to present to your audience. I think this is a product that especially people in the kitchen and bath remodeling industry are going to enjoy, and we'll get a lot of value out of it. So please feel free to ask questions at the end. I know you'll likely have some, but thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, awesome. And there's going to be a lot of people watching the replay, and we'll hand out your information at the end. So if they were not on live, they'll be able to ask you questions, and then we'll get the answers to them. So I'm going to just let you start talking about who you are, the program, and give the demo. So have at it.
Great. Well, thanks again for having me. The presentation is going to be about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll have time for questions afterwards. So on today's webinar, I'm going to talk about what 3D capture is in general and how Canvas plays a role in that ecosystem. Then we'll talk about what equipment you need to get started with Canvas, what you can do or how to use that to scan a space, what you can do once you scan that space. I'll tell you about our Scan-to-CAD service and how it works. Then we'll talk about how Canvas can save you time and how you can figure out how much money it saves you with a simple formula. And then we'll talk about using Canvas to drive additional revenue. And then we'll have time for your questions. And since I'm not the technical expert on things, if you have a question that I'm not able to answer, I'll circle back and follow up with email afterwards. And that also goes for anyone watching this on recording. If you have a question that comes up, you'll have my email address, and I'll make sure to get that answered for you. So let's start by talking about what 3D capture is. It is creating a 3D digital replica of a space or object. Now, since you guys are all in the construction or renovation industry, we're going to focus only on scanning spaces today. And 3D capture has a bunch of different names, so you may have heard of it referred to as 3D scanning, reality capture, 3D or interior mapping, but they're all the same thing. And ultimately, you get a digital twin, which is a virtual version of that space. And it's typically available in two different formats. One is a point cloud, and the other is a 3D mesh. And what Canvas delivers is a 3D mesh file. So if you have questions about point clouds, I can ask that, get into that later. And there are a lot of uses for digital twins. You can use them for documentation and surveying, for capturing measurements, for estimation and quoting, and planning and design. When you typically hear about 3D capture, you probably have one of these devices that comes into your mind. And these are typically tripod-based laser scanners. And the way that they work is, imagine if you had a bunch of laser distance measures spinning at a high rate of speed in this device, capturing every measurement that it pulls in. Now, these are very powerful devices. They can sometimes achieve millimeter level accuracy. But you're going to pay for that. They start at around $16,000 and go way up from there. They can cost $80,000. So if you are a smaller firm specializing in residential kitchen and baths, you probably don't have room in your budget for one of these. And the other thing is they're very time consuming to learn how to use and to train staff how to use them. And the actual use of them can be time consuming too. You've got to set it up, scan the space, move them about 7 feet, then capture again, move it again, capture about 7, move it about 7 feet, and capture and repeat as necessary. So you can see that it can take a long time to capture a large space with one of these devices. So because of that reason, these are typically most commonly used in the commercial or industrial industries and not in residential. But there's now a new frontier in 3D capture, and that's that it's now available on mobile devices. So the iPad Pro and iPhone 12 Pro now have embedded lidar sensors on the back of the device. So in what you see here, you'll see there are 3 cameras, and then there's a little dot on the bottom right. And what that is a lidar sensor. And it essentially shoots out invisible bursts of light and then measures how long it takes for it to reflect back. So this is the same technology that's used to help self-driving cars drive and see the world around them. So it's a very powerful piece of equipment that now literally fits in your pocket or in your work bag, depending on if you've got an iPhone or an iPad. And they're extremely powerful They capture more than 360 measurements per second automatically wherever you point your device. And the accuracy is extremely high. It's about 99% when compared to a hand captured measurement with a tape measure or a laser distance measure. And then the real benefit is that they're inexpensive. If you've already got an iPhone 12 Pro, you don't have to invest in any technology or hardware. And if you don't, the cheapest iPad Pro starts at $799. So it's a much more affordable solution than investing in a piece of hardware that's only designed for scanning that costs up to $16,000 or starting at $16,000. And of course, you can use an iPad or an iPhone for a myriad of other uses beyond scanning with Canvas. So let's talk about Canvas itself. It is an iPhone and iPad app that captures rooms in seconds and entire homes in minutes. And while it's got a lot of cutting edge technology under the hood, we're talking about computer vision, artificial intelligence, all the buzzwords that you've probably heard, it's extremely intuitive to use, and you don't really need to spend a lot of time training or learning how to use it. If you can capture a video on your phone, you can use Canvas. The app is free to download from the App Store, and it's free to scan. And then what we offer is an optional service called ScanCAD that takes your scan data and turns it into design-ready, editable CAD files in popular formats. So if you're using 3D design tools, this ScanCAD service basically eliminates the time you spend measuring and modeling. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. And we are primarily focused on residential interiors, which is perfect for most of you on this call since you are in the kitchen and bath remodeling business. I'm going to show you a brief video, 1-minute video that sort of talks about Canvas in a nutshell, and then we'll get more into the details about how it works.
With Canvas, you can measure rooms in seconds, entire homes in minutes, create as-built drawings and CAD models in one tap, all with a lidar-enabled iPad Pro and iPhone 12 Pro. Just download the Canvas app and start scanning. It's as easy as making a video. You can use your 3D scan instantly and measure anything. Upload and share your 3D model with anyone. And you can even use your 3D scans to generate editable, professional-grade CAD formats like SketchUp, Revit, Chief Architect, 2020 Design Line, and AutoCAD, as well as 2D drawings as PDFs. Join thousands of home improvement professionals who save hours measuring and creating as-builts with Canvas.
Great. So hopefully that helped give you sort of a general overview of Canvas and our Scan to CAD service. So let's talk about what you need to get started. So I was talking about those lidar-enabled iPads and iPhones before. And so that's what you need to achieve that 99% accuracy. So you'll need an iPad Pro that was released either last year or this year. And it's important to note there are several iPad models. You need the Pro model because that's what includes that LiDAR sensor. Or you need an iPhone 12 Pro or Pro Max, which was released last fall. And we anticipate, but obviously have no way of knowing for sure, but that the iPhone 12 or 13 Pro that is released this year will also have a LiDAR sensor. And we're optimistic that LiDAR sensors will start to be included in the regular iPhone as well. But keep in touch with us. We'll let you know what devices work. And if you have an iPhone 8 or higher, you can download Canvas and start experimenting with it. But because it doesn't have that LiDAR sensor enabled, the accuracy is going to be closer to 95%. So if you're planning on using this professionally in your workflow, you'll likely find that you really want that 99% accuracy. So I encourage you to, if you are interested, to invest in an iPad Pro. And again, that starts at $799, and integrate this into your bag of tools. Now, scanning is pretty easy. It takes about 30 to 60 seconds to scan an average room and about an entire home in 20 to 30 minutes. And what you want to do is walk around the perimeter of the room, moving your phone or iPad up and down in what we call a paintbrush motion, as if you were painting the walls and you want to do one coat. And you only need to capture what you need. So you don't need to scan the entire ceiling or floor. You just need to scan where the ceiling meets the wall and where the wall meets the floor, windows, and all the items that you would want included in your CAD model. If you are doing a whole home remodel, it's very important to make sure that all the room connections are visible. So that basically means you want to open every door, including to other rooms, to cabinets, so that way when Canvas is building your CAD model, we know how all the spaces interact with each other and how the rooms connect. You also don't want to block important details. So that means you want to open up any curtains on the windows so that the app and device can see where your window ends and where the wall begins. If you've got a curtain covering that, we have no way of knowing, where that wall actually ends and where your window pane starts. So essentially, if you can't see it with your eyes, Canvas won't be able to see it, and we'll have to make some assumptions when we are looking at your space. And then the other thing before you start scanning, you want to turn on all the lights. You want to clear a safe path for you to walk. You don't want to be interrupting your scan to move toys or other objects out of the way as you're going around it. Now here's a brief video of showing what scanning looks like with an iPad. And the experiences, you can also do the same on an iPhone. But as you'll see, it basically puts a white overlay over what's been captured, so you know what's been scanned, and it literally goes that quickly. So we say you want to move at the sort of speed as if you were touring a house for the first time, trying to capture all the details as you walked around it. So it's really easy. It's really intuitive. The app basically guides you through it. And if you have any questions about scanning, we're always happy to answer. Now, since I know a lot of you are going to be scanning kitchens and baths, given the nature of your business, there are a few things to keep in mind when you are scanning in those types of spaces. Reflective surfaces can confuse your lidar sensor. So if you imagine it's shooting out that invisible beam of light and measuring how long it takes to come back, if it's a highly reflective surface like a mirror or stainless steel appliance, that can confuse the sensor and then can interfere with the accuracy of your scan. So typically you want to scan around those items instead of directly in them. So we don't need to see all of a refrigerator or all of a mirror. We just need to see where the mirror ends and where that wall begins, or where your cabinetry ends and that stainless steel appliance begins. And then you'll also often encounter islands in kitchens. And since we've told you to walk around the perimeter, that won't capture the island. So what we want you to use is sort of a J shape, with the high end of the J being the wall and the low end of the J being the island. So in this video, you'll basically get a sense of what that looks like. So, I'm moving way up to capture the wall and the cabinets, and then looping back around, and this is sort of the low end of the J, capturing the island so that that is included in your scan and then can be included in the CAD file that you receive. And I believe in one moment, you'll basically see what it looks like as you're scanning on the iPad. So as you can see, I'm capturing the cabinets, the appliances. There I get a little bit of the stainless steel appliance. It's not going to destroy your scan, but if you can, you want to try to avoid it. But this is what the process looks like as you move through your kitchen. So once you've done your 3D scan, what can you do with it? Well, you get a model of it immediately, which you can revisit virtually, either using the app on your device or using our web viewer, which is available on any internet connected device. So you can use that on your desktop or laptop computer. You can use it on an Android phone if you want, or a tablet. And you can share that scan with your subcontractors and clients for estimating. So let's say you want your cabinet folks to give you a quick quote. You can send them the model and they can capture the measurements that they need. If you want, your drywall guy or whoever else you want that you need that information for the estimate, you can immediately share that scan, and they don't have to visit the property, and they're able to help you come up with a really comprehensive estimate for the job that you're bidding on. And as I mentioned, you can measure any points in that space as if you were there with 99% accuracy, and this part is free. So here is a video of that space that I had scanned. And as you can see, it's not a photorealistic version, but it's enough so that you can move around that space and capture measurements. And measurements will snap to planes So you can make sure that you're getting the right measurement, and you can also zoom in for more detail to ensure that you're capturing that right measurement. But we hear from customers all the time that they almost virtually always have to return to a site to capture a measurement that they inadvertently forgot to get. And this eliminates those site revisits. You can just pull up that model and remember, oh, what was the space between that window and the wall? You've got it there. So that's one place where this saves you time and money immediately in terms of having to avoid those annoying revisits that cost you time and gas. But the real value I think that most of the people on this webinar will get is from our ScanCAD service, which is a semi-automated service that takes that scan data and turns it into a design-ready CAD or BIM model or drawing. And so when we were talking about those other sort of laser-based solutions earlier, you end up with a point cloud, which is great, and you can pull into one of your design programs, but you still have to trace over that point cloud to get an editable model. What we do for you is create that editable model so that instead of spending time tracing over a point cloud or manually recreating a 3D model based on hand sketched measurements that you took using a laser distance measure or your tape measure, you can do it yourself. Now, our turnaround times, it's typically, if you're doing a kitchen that's under 1,000 square feet, it's typically about 2 business days, maybe even faster. If you're doing a larger home that's between 1,000 and 3,000 square feet, it'll take about 3 business days. And if you're looking at a property that's over 3,000 feet, it's about 4 business days, but can be higher depending on the size and complexity of that space. And we charge 15 cents per square foot for any 3D output with a $20 minimum, and 10 cents per square foot for any 2D format with a $10 minimum. And that's based on the square footage of the home, not the square footage of the walls and everything that's being captured. So it's pretty easy. You know, I think most of you are used to working and calculating in square feet. This way you have a sense of how much this model is going to cost you. And in terms of the output formats that we support, we directly support SketchUp, Revit, Chief Architect, 2020 Design Live, and AutoCAD, as well as 2D PDFs. And so if you use another program, chances are one of the file formats that you get with these packages will work in your format of choice. So if you have a question about using another output, another program, feel free to email me. We'll be able to guide you towards which package you should order. As you can see here, you know, if you get a SketchUp model, it includes a SketchUp file as well as a 3D DWG and DAE file. So those are included or can be used in other programs as well. And with every ScanCAD order, you get a reprocessed model. And so what that does is it adds the color that you saw in that model I shared earlier. What you immediately get on device is sort of black and white. It looks like it's a space where someone sprayed foam over it, and you're still able to extract measurements that you need. But if you want to be able to see color and sort of see that space as you were in there, you'll need that reprocessed scan. In the situation where you're not ordering ScanCAD, but you still want that reprocessed scan, we're able to do that for $3, and you get that back within a few minutes. So even if you are doing a ScanCAD order, you'll get that colorized scan back within a matter of minutes, and then you'll get an email with the downloadable files for your CAD or BIM program in about 2 business days, as I mentioned earlier. And as you can see, this is what you get. So this is a SketchUp model, but everything is editable and everything is layered and grouped as if you made it yourself. So you can see the outlets, you can see the switches, you can see the cabinets and countertops. You can turn those layers on and off because these files are designed as if they had been done by hand. And the files are organized using industry standard program specific conventions. So things will be layered and grouped or tagged like you're used to. As I mentioned, they're intended to mimic as if you had built these yourself. The other thing that we can do is if you've scanned a bunch of rooms independently, we can merge all of those scans together to create a global CAD model. And again, that's where it's important that you open those doors so that we can see how the rooms interact with each other. And I know that 99% accuracy may not be accurate enough for cabinetry work or countertops. And so what you can do there is after you submit your scan, you can email our customer support team with a crudely hand-drawn sketch or a photo, and you can mark out certain measurements that you've captured or verified by hand, and we'll ensure that those are included in your model. So if you've got a wall and a window, you can basically say, between these two spaces, it's 8 feet, 4 inches, and 3/16 of an inch, and we'll make sure that those measurements are manually override whatever was captured with your lidar sensor. But in most cases, that 99% accuracy is enough for most of the work that you'll be doing. So there only are a few measurements you'll have to capture by hand to augment in those spaces. But I did want to mention that since many of you are working in, well, you all are working in kitchen and baths where accuracy tolerances are paramount. So let's talk about how Canvas and the Scan-to-CAD service can help you save money. So the simple formula is taking the amount of time saved, multiplying it by your typical hourly rate, and whether that's yours or someone on your design team, and then subtract that Scan-to-CAD fee, and you'll easily see how much money you'll save using Canvas. It's important to note that every business is different. Labor rates vary greatly across the country or across the world, and it might take different people different amounts of time to measure. So you'll want to do that cost-benefit analysis on your own, but in most cases, we're fairly confident you will come out significantly ahead by using Canvas to generate your as-builts than manually measuring and modeling yourself. Because it's important to focus on the fact that there are two places where Canvas saves you time. One is on that measuring. And so it depends on how many rooms you're measuring and the level of detail that you're capturing. But most of our customers tell us that they spend about 4 to 8 hours measuring a house. And Canvas replaces that with, a minute of scanning per room, or, 20 to 30 minutes for your average home. And then the modeling time is an additional day or two that most people spend taking those hand captured measurements and reconstructing a 3D model before you're even able to start making your updates and planning your remodel. Canvas reduces that to nothing. So there are significant cost savings on both of those aspects of creating an as-built. Now, you may be saying, well, I've got to wait 2 days for those files, so that's time wasted. But it's not. There are a lot of things that you can do with your time while you're waiting for those files. One, that planning those updates in your CAD program are only one small aspect of the project. So you can start using that model right away to start working on estimates. You can share that with your subs so they can start working on estimates, so you can prepare a super accurate, detailed estimate for your client. And you can also take on other projects. I know how busy the remodeling industry is right now, with everyone stuck at home and looking to invest the money that they've saved into making their house better for work and school. Or just, if you're stuck at home staring at your ugly, outdated kitchen, you're probably more likely to want to update that. So you can spend that time working on more projects, spend more time at other clients' homes, and offering them more iterations or more options in their designs, which will help get them to yes. And, if you had planned on spending half a day at a client's home measuring and modeling, or measuring their home, you can spend more time talking to them to get a sense of what it is that they're looking for, so that your bid and proposed design is more likely to meet their needs and to get them to say yes. And the other thing you can do is spend more time marketing your business. One of our customers, Thomas Reynolds of Green Stories, which is an architecture firm in the New York area, he has spent his additional time on TikTok, where he's built a following of thousands and thousands of followers, and he's sort of known as the TikTok architect. And he's built out this following that he's able to do. So you don't necessarily have to get into social media, but you can spend that time investing in digital marketing, or old-fashioned marketing, or bookkeeping, or other aspects of the business. And of course, who says that you necessarily have to spend all of that time investing it back in your business if you want to invest it in yourself personally? So go hang out on a boat, spend time with your kids, spend time with your family. There are a lot of different options in what you can do with the time that Canvas saves you. The other thing that Canvas can help you do is upsell. Our customers who find the most success with Canvas ask this one question of their clients: are you thinking about taking on any other projects? And so, if you've been hired to update their kitchen, they probably have an outdated bathroom too. You can scan their bathroom in a matter of a minute or two, and you don't have to do anything right away, but you'll have that room on your device so that at some point in the process, you can upsell them. And so basically, you're already a step ahead of any competitors because you've got those measurements ready to go. It's your job to win. So if you want, at the beginning of the project, you can upload that room, that additional bathroom to ScanCAD and have those measurements ready to go. Or you can just keep that scan on your device, not invest anything in the ScanCAD service for that room. And then if you're at a point with your customers where they're like blown away by the renderings you shared for their new kitchen, and they're thinking, gosh, I really need to update that bath so that it matches or it keeps up to pace, you can convert that at that point and then start working on the designs for that. And so what Canvas lets you do is it lets you work in 3D on more projects. It makes it easier and less time consuming. And what we hear time and time again is that those 3D renderings help your clients visualize the project and help them say yes more often. They get more excited. They can sort of really visualize what their new kitchen is going to look like, as opposed to looking at pictures of previous jobs you've done or material samples. If they're able to see, wow, look at my new quartz island with that beautiful backsplash, they're more likely to say yes and more likely to probably say yes to a slightly higher budget. One of our customers who runs a kitchen and bath remodeling showroom and construction company in Florida basically uses Canvas in two ways. He always charges for his bids, but he now offers an enhanced package. Because what he found is that people would come into the showroom and they'd see pictures of previous jobs, but they wouldn't be able to envision or imagine what their new kitchen would look like. And he wasn't able to close about 25% of those deals because they couldn't really see what it looks like. So now he charges a slightly bit more for an enhanced consultation that includes him taking that scan to CAD, or taking the scan that he does on the initial visit, converting it to CAD, and having his designer throw together a quick and dirty design of their actual kitchen. And when those customers are sitting in his showroom, they're able to see that kitchen and they are excited about it, and he's able to close them at a higher rate than he was before. And then the other benefit that we hear helps people win more business is using technology at the very start of the process when you're estimating. Projects a real tech-savvy image. So people see you walking around with an iPad instead of using a tape measure, and they think, wow, this person is really savvy. They're using cutting-edge technology. That's going to make them more efficient. That's going to make them more precise. That's going to give me a better end result. And so there's sort of that halo effect that people have when they use Canvas for that reason. So it basically helps brand you as a high-tech professional from the very start of your project. So there are a lot of benefits, both tangible, intangible, and intangible that you get from using Canvas. So that's my part of the presentation. And now I will open it up for questions. For any of you who are on live or watching it after, my email address is easy. It's ben@canvas.io. That's ben@canvas.io. Feel free to send me an email. The other thing I'm able to offer for any of you attending this webinar, either now or live, I'm able to give you $30 off your first ScanCAD order. So if you're curious about testing it out and you want to see, scan something in your own home, compare it to your own manual measurements, see how much time it saves you, see what the results are, you can do that. The other thing you can do, you can either go right to our website and fill out a form to get it, or if you want, just email me and I can send you a link to it. But we have a sample data package. And what that is it's a collection of all of our output files. So you'll see, a kitchen and a bathroom, a whole home, and you can see what the original scan looks like, and you can see what those files look like. So you can download a sample SketchUp file, pull it into the program, and see if it's built in the way that you expect it. We want you to be able to test this, whether you are using one of the directly supported outputs or you're using another program. You can download one of those files and see how it behaves in ArchiCAD, for example, or one of those other programs. So we know this is a big change in your workflow, and we want to hold your hand and help you learn how to make the adjustment and sort of see how you can use it. So I'm going to minimize my screen and so I can see some of the questions that you may have. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen if that's all right. And
yeah, I actually have the questions up on my end, so I can see them.
Perfect.
But okay, so one was what you just talked about with the money off. Do they need to let you know that they were in this webinar? Is there a code that they need? Do they need to?
So if you send me an email, I'll send you a unique code that you can use as you're checking out. It'll basically show up in the checkout screen, but just send me an email and say, hey, I was in the webinar on Wednesday. I heard all about it and I'd like to take advantage of that, and I will send you a code and you can use it. The way it works is it will cover up to $30 off, so it won't roll over. But basically, if you're getting a 3D output, that'll cover 266 square feet. So if you're curious about trying it out, it's a good way to do it at little to no risk, assuming you already have a device, and you can always borrow a device or try it out on your own.
Right. And then speaking about device, one of the people asked, is an iPhone 11 Pro, is that beyond the cutoff of the 99%, or is that the 95%? Where is that one in the right? Because you said from 8 on, but is that a rolling clock, like 8 is only 95%, the 9 and 10 is 96, or is all 95? Like how does that work?
That's a great question. So unfortunately, they're all at 95 until you get that lidar sensor. So basically, it's that important piece of hardware that they only started including in the phones last year with the 12 Pro model. And that's basically what helps augment the visual. So as you can imagine, as you're scanning, the canvas uses both the camera to get the visual and that lidar sensor to get the depth information. And while we've got pretty cutting edge algorithms that allow us to try to extract depth just using the image, it isn't as accurate as it is with that depth data that you get with the lidar sensor. So unfortunately, that's where you'll find that difference. And I know you're probably thinking my phone isn't even 2 years old, but the speed at which Apple and the tech industry innovates, it's hard to keep up with. And so that's a big difference. Also, one of the things I realized I forgot to mention is even though we're talking about using the lidar phones, we've actually been doing this since 2016. Before the iPhone and iPad started including that lidar sensor, we used to sell what's called a structure sensor, which you can see attached to this older iPad. But that was an investment you had to make in hardware. It was more complicated to attach it to your iPad. You then had to calibrate it. So there was a lot of work involved in using it. But I mentioned that only to sort of explain that we have the history of doing this for 5 years now. It's not like we're new in doing this, but the advent of this lidar sensor makes it so much easier for you to just download the app and go. You don't have to buy that custom hardware. You don't have to install it. So you basically, and you don't have this weird object attached to your iPad that makes it harder to store, harder to carry, easier to break. Right.
And then talking about, one person asked about when you scan, what happens if you have to backtrack? Is that an issue if like, because it shows, you said it shows white when you scan, but what happens if you missed an area and you have to backtrack? What is that?
You typically don't want to go back and rescan an area. That can confuse it a little bit.
Okay.
If you're only scanning a kitchen, what I would recommend is stop the scan and start again. And what I always recommend, practice before you're with a client. Scan your own home, scan your friends' homes. Get comfortable with it so that on your first use of it with a client, they're not watching you sort of learn through it as you learn it. Again, it's not that complicated. And Basically, once you finish your scan, you'll immediately get that black and white model, and you can sort of move around it. And if you see black holes, that means you didn't capture that area. And you may not need that area if there's nothing critical in it. If it's just blank floor, you don't need to capture that. But if there's cabinetry or something important that you missed, just start over. It's easy to scan again. It's not a huge investment in time that you've put into scanning that first place. But we recommend walking in a single direction, not stopping and going back. The other thing is you probably want to ask people to leave the space and pets where you're scanning. You don't want people moving through that, and you don't want distractions. But again, it's not too challenging to start over, especially if you're only doing a kitchen or a bathroom.
Okay, a couple questions on technology. If they're using their phone, what happens if the phone rings? Like if they have a call, or if they have a text.
I need to double check. That's one reason why I personally recommend, if you are scanning a whole home, breaking it into pieces and not doing it as one. First of all, it's not your house, so you may not have it memorized like the back of your hand. Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned, you don't want to scan the same space over and over again. So that can be challenging if you're scanning bedrooms and going back into the hallway multiple times. And that interruption, I think you can just dismiss the call and continue scanning. If you do have to stop the scan, as of now, you can't resume where you were. I think we're working on developing that ability, but that's one reason why I would recommend an iPad over an iPhone for that reason. But if you, to minimize those distractions. But again, let's say you're almost done scanning a kitchen, you spent 2
I was just about that. What if you're like almost done?
Yeah, I know it can be frustrating, but it's not like you've spent hours scanning this and it ruins all your work. So you can also put your phone on do not disturb for 5 minutes while you're scanning, and then that should eliminate that issue.
Okay. And then one person asks, you did a great job on the tutorial. Do you all have tutorial videos that show you the same thing that you just explained here?
So the videos I showed you are part of our tutorial videos. Okay. I literally last Thursday just filmed a bunch of videos. I still need to edit them together, but we are working on building out our training sequence so that you feel more confident scanning in those situations. I've got one that's about scanning small spaces, and we are going to have a fully narrated video that talks about scanning kitchens so that you can avoid those things. And the other thing that you can do, and that I forgot to mention, is we offer I'm getting a phone call now, so that's how you can get interrupted at any point. The other thing is we will do a complimentary scan review. I believe you enter in the promo code field scan review. I can double check if any of you have questions, but before you invest in spending money on that scan to CAD order or even using your credit that I talked about, we are happy to sort of take a look at your scan and review it and give you any feedback if you need, pointers, and, we can tell you, oh, you double scan this area, so that's why you're seeing that, weirdness in your scan. So we're always happy, and we'll do that both for first-time customers as well as long-term customers. You might be scanning a new space that's new to you, and you just want more confidence in knowing that you did it properly. And the other thing to keep in mind is if there's ever anything wrong with your scan, we won't charge you if we can't create that CAD model for you. We're not in the business of just trying to take your money. We want you to be happy. And so if there is something wrong, we will tell you. And, obviously you'll have to probably go back to the client to scan again, but you're not going to lose money with us because there was something wrong with your scan.
That was actually a question. So you just answered that. So because they had asked about the recapture, if you were not able to get everything in the CAD software, would you be charged for that? So that's actually great.
Yeah. Okay. We are your partners in this. We're not here to try to, extract money from you if for some reason there's something wrong with your scan. But I will tell you, like the rate of scans that we're unable to convert into CAD models is extremely low. And so even if you're looking around that scan and it doesn't look beautiful, we can still oftentimes create a great scan. I mean, you saw what that's actually my in-laws kitchen and living room, what it looks like. And it's not picture perfect, but the CAD model is still extremely accurate. And so if that's really what your goal is, don't come away from your scan and think, oh, this isn't beautiful. We can still extract the information we need, the dimensions we need to create that model for you.
Okay. And then one person asked about scan to CAD, and you said on average it takes about, what's that, 48 hours?
Yeah.
Does that matter on the size of the room? If it's like a 1,500 square foot house as opposed to an 800 square foot kitchen, or if you have a 5,000 square foot house, does that matter in terms of the turnaround time?
Yes. So as I sort of mentioned, that 2 business day turnaround is based on 1,000 square feet. And then if you are between 1,000 and 3,000, it may take about 3 business days. And then if it's over 3,000, it can take a little bit longer. And that really depends also on not just the size of the space, but the complexity of it. So if you're scanning, a large open space room that doesn't have a lot of details, that won't take as long as a kitchen, which has, cabinetry that needs to be included in that model and a lot of other design elements. So we do offer a rush fee if you do need it faster, which will be refunded if we're not able to deliver it in that time. And the other thing to keep in mind is we're talking about business days, business hours. So if you submit a scan on Friday night, don't expect that you'll get that first thing Monday morning.
Right. Okay. All right. And I believe that was all of the questions we had. If there's anybody else that has any questions, feel free. And I believe that is it. Did you have any last minute tips or anything that you want to say before we sign off?
Mainly just that we know that this is new. It's new technology. You're probably used to doing your as-builts the same way that you've been doing them for years. So it is a change, but I think you'll find that it saves you time, saves you money, makes you look cool. There are all these benefits, but you probably have questions. Our customer success team is fantastic. I am always blown away at how quickly and how detailed they are able to respond to people. So you can always email me. You can email our support team, which is just support@canvas.io as well. But we want to help you sort of adapt your workflow. You might have questions about the program you use, about the process, about scan technique. We're here to help you. So don't feel intimidated by this new technology. Embrace it. We're here to help you, modernize.
Awesome. Next month, we're going to be talking about branding to obtain luxury clients. So we hope to have you here next month. And Ben, again, we appreciate your time, and everybody have a great rest of your weekend. We hope to see you all next month. All right.
Thank you for the opportunity, Jason. I appreciate it.